Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in, and after a very long time I decided to give you an update on the operation and give you a testimonial on the operation of my intraocular trifocal lenses. So in this update I'm going to summarize everything what happened from actually the day that I had the operation and how has been the recovery of the operation until today. Today we are the 18th of April 2017, and I had my operation in 2016 on May the 12th. So we are approximately 11 months post-operation at the moment. If you want to know more about the psychological preparations of the operation itself, a couple of days before, etc., and the day itself, I recommend you to go back to the previous videos and go and search for video 1, 2, 3, and eventually number 4, because they will actually summarize everything. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a patient. I just got this operation done, and I'm just giving you my experience about this operation that I have undergone about 11 months ago, and I want to give you more of an insight on how this operation works, what it does, and give you my experience. So I just want to help you as eventually maybe a patient or someone who is not very sure if you should do this operation or not. But please keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon, I'm just a patient, and I will not be able to answer any questions regarding technical questions regarding the operation itself. So I advise you to go and contact your doctor or different doctors, preferably, so you can have a better understanding of what the different doctors are saying and see what really suits for you. Just to give you the reason why I've done this operation, I was suffering for almost 5 years, since the age of 40, of presbyopia. I have very healthy eyes, I didn't suffer from any diseases or whatsoever, and that was one of the requirements before you are actually being accepted as a patient, to have these trifocal lenses implanted. And I would say this glasses that I needed was 1 plus 1.5, 1 plus 1.25 for the right eye and 1.5 for the left eye. And my doctor was telling me on the last checkup that also my far vision was actually starting to deteriorate. And he gave me different options, and one of the options is doing this implant of the trifocal lenses. So I got the FineVision Micro F plus 24D trifocal lenses implanted on May 12th, 2016. And I will cover actually everything what happened since the operation, regarding the close vision, regarding the intermediate and far vision. I will also talk about the halos, I will also talk about glare, I will also talk about floaters, and I will also answer a couple of questions from people who have sent me private emails and who wanted to know a little bit more about stuff. So I wanted to get rid, and this is one of the options that you have when you want to get rid of reading glasses forever. There's different options. Most of the time they will offer you the possibility to use lenses. That's one possibility. Another option would be glasses, of course. Another possibility would be doing a laser LASIK operation, but this is not permanent, and you will probably have one eye that will be treated for close vision and one eye that will be treated to have perfect far vision. But after a time, a considerable time, like 10 years, the LASIK will deteriorate and you need to do this operation again. And then the last solution would be this implant of trifocal lenses, where you actually take out the original lens and they put in new lenses. After seeing doctors and different doctors and clinics, I decided to do this operation in a local clinic in Wemmel in Belgium. It's a clinic that is pretty renowned for its very good surgery operations, and the Dr. Evans is pretty well renowned also for its practical experience of implanting these intraocular trifocal lenses. So before I start to talk about the reading vision, it is important to understand that how the natural lens works, and it's good to have this background. If you are about to do this operation, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of a background so you really understand how these lenses work, and you will understand what we also call neuro adaptation, which is necessary after the operation. So basically, there is a very good part of a video that explains how these lenses work. If you go back to update number 6 and you scroll through to minute number 2 up to minute number 4, you can see a small video sequence which explains how the lens work. I will just explain it now again. When you have a natural lens in your eye, it's like, I would say, like a water drop, and the lens is located in a little bag in your eyeball, and around this bag you've got different muscles, and they actually pull this bag, and because it pulls the bag, the little water drop that is actually a circle type of lens will be flattened down when you are looking far away. So when you are looking far away, your brain will send a signal to your muscles in your eye, and it will actually contract, and it will actually flatten down your eye lens, so you have a perfect vision for far away. But when you're reading and when you are looking at objects that are close by, the muscles, they stop working, and the lens should become around this shape again. But over time, the natural lens becomes stiff, and when the natural lens becomes stiff, it does not really become a nice, beautiful lens anymore. At the age of 40, 45, a lot of Caucasians, Europeans, or Western people are suffering from the presbyopia. It's not really a thing that happens in Asia. Apparently in Asia they've got some other problems with their eyes, but the lens doesn't really get flat, stays a little bit oval, and the image that is projected on the retina, which is on the back of the eye, which is where all the receptors are, is not sharp anymore, and that's where you start to take your paper and keep it further and further away to get some good vision and to actually have a sharp image. And at a certain moment in time, it's so far away that you actually need to wear reading glasses. So the thing that happens is that because of the fact that the lens becomes stiff, they need to you cannot actually in some kind of a way try to repair it or train the eye. It's just the material of the lens, the natural lens, that becomes stiff, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's where the trifocal IOL comes into place. And basically what happens is that they will take out your original lens in your lens bag, if you can call it that way, and they will replace it with some kind of a lens that is folded, inserted, and unfolded into the eyeball bag, if you can call it that way. I don't know the technical terms. And when you are looking around, when you have these trifocals, tri means tree, of course, you get actually 3 images that are projected on the retina, on the back of your eye. And what happens is that you actually get an image for short vision, an image for intermediate, and an image for far vision. Now, it's important to understand how the eye work, because you will also understand what is neuro adaptation. And this is something just as an introduction to this video, so you really understand how important this is, to give it time. When you look at an object and there is light that just goes into your eye through the small iris, go into the eyeball. On the back of the eye, on the other side, on the back of the eye, you get actually a lot of receptors, photoreceptors or photoreceivers, you can call it. There's about 120 million of these photoreceivers. That's an estimate. So 120 million, I would say, photoreceivers that are going to capture the signal and is going to send through the veins to the brain the information that comes on the retina. Now, from these 120 million receivers or photoreceivers, there's about 114 million, approximately 114 million of these receivers that are black-white receivers. So basically you could say the receiver gets a signal, so get a light that falls on this particular receptor or photoreceptor or receiver, and it will send a signal to the brain and tells, okay, I see light or I don't see light. Okay, so it's an on and off switch. And that's why you actually, or how you actually see is that the stimuli is getting to the brain and the brain needs to reconstruct the picture. Now I'm talking about 114 million because there's 6 million receptors that are basically photoreceivers or photoreceptors for the color image that we try to, understand from what we see around us. And from these 6 million, I don't know the exact figures, but it's a little bit like the cyan, magenta, and yellow that you have in a printer, the three basic colors. There are about, let's say, this is probably going to be wrong, but let's say from one color, yellow, there's going to be like, or maybe, like yellow, there's going to be maybe like 3 million of them, and then cyan, there's going to be maybe like 2 million, and then the, the other one, the third one, there's going to be another 1 million. So, why are there, and this is also something you can notice when it gets dark, when it becomes, or when you go to a dark area, or when it gets nighttime, you see the colors fading away. And this is just because the receivers that are capturing the colors, there's much less of these receptacles or photoreceivers. There's less signals from these photoreceivers going to your brain, and finally you start to lose color perception when it starts to get dark. And this is important that you understand how it really works, because when you change from a traditional, I would say, natural lens, the way that the image is projected on the retina is going to be different. Okay, the signals are going to be different, and the brain needs to learn actually again how to perceive the image around you. The brain needs to understand which of the projected information is going to be for the short vision, which one is going to be for the intermediate vision, and which of these signals is going to be for the far vision. And basically you need to start from scratch again to look through your own eyes. Now it takes time, and I would say I just look at it like this. If you get these lenses implanted, well, basically you get new eyes. So if you need to, or if you are going to suffer during a pretty extended period, like going from 4-6 months up to 2 years with a vision that is not perfect, I just think like this: thanks God I got new eyes, and I'm like a baby who is born again with new eyes, and I need to see everything again, and it takes time. And this is actually called the neuro adaptation stage. So I'm going to tell you what happens when you have this implant done. There's one more thing. If you don't have healthy eyes, don't push yourself going to other doctors if someone rejects, or one of the doctors rejects your operation. It is very important that you understand this, because if you have no good or you don't have good eyes, you might get into problems later. That's one very important thing that I need to tell you. Also, as I told you, these are the FineVision Micro F Micro F plus 24D. Now the figures for your eyes might be different, and a very good or very important is that the doctor needs to do and to make a decision about the figures, the way the lens should be built, and they are actually different for every person. So you should realize that you better take a very good doctor, because if they decide to give a bad figures on the lens for your eyes, you might get into trouble. And I already had some emails from people who are having some problems because they had a implant of I would say wrong figures in the lenses for their own eyes. Now, most of the time I'm telling you this, I think what you see on the internet also is mostly the complaints of people where there is a problem, but they never talk, or the people who have had this operation that was successful like mine, maybe you don't see lots of them just making a video like this, and I just want to share you my experience. I also advise you to contact other people who have done this operation. There's always a risk involved if you do this kind of a procedure. These days it is pretty bulletproof, but you might just always get into problems. It's always a risk when you do an operation, and it's in general for all operations that you might do, as you probably know. I also noticed, another motivation, another reason, besides the presbyopia issue that I have, why I wanted to do this operation, is that if you have this kind of a implant, you are not going to have any cataract anymore. Cataract is actually some kind of phenomena where the lens becomes actually foggy, and your vision deteriorates. Also, doing this operation means that you are still prone to get other diseases. So, and to give you an idea, my father, he is actually suffering from another disease which is called glaucoma, and it's actually about the pressure in your eyes. If the pressure in your eye is too high, it pushes down the veins and the blood veins, and also the photoreceivers that strong down that actually the blood stops streaming to the different photoreceivers, and you start to actually have photoreceivers dying off. And you understand what happens when you get less and less of these 120 million photoreceivers in your eye. What might just cause, or what it's irrevocable. It's something when a photoreceiver died, it dies, doesn't regenerate. So it's very important, even if you had this operation, also to keep a checkup, or do a checkup on a yearly or 2-yearly basis, so they can check how is the pressure of your eye. This has nothing to do with this lens operation, but I just recommend this to everybody who has done this operation and who really wants to continue to check how the vision is, and wants to reassure themselves that the vision is going to be okay. So let me just talk about the close vision and how the reading has evolved over the time since the day that I had the operation up to today. I consider the close view from 10 centimeters like this, 10-15 centimeters, 10 centimeters up to 3 meters. So covering everything that you do from this distance, like reading your smartphone, watching television, reading newspapers, etc., etc., etc. So the same day after the surgery, and after a nap of 3 hours, I woke up, and the first thing that shocked me, that I was able to read my smartphone again. So that was really unbelievable. I couldn't believe it, but I took my smartphone, and I normally needed these glasses, and I just could read everything right away. So actually, this concludes immediately something very important. The close vision is the first thing that gets by. So the close vision is going to be the thing that will start to become better, and where the neuro adaptation stage is the shortest. As I'm talking about the short vision, let me just explain my reading capability also. Since I've done this operation, I've been spectacle free for short, intermediate, and far vision. I haven't had any need to use any spectacles or reading glasses whatsoever. The smallest script I can read, and I think maybe I should just point to this, when you have these small little bottles with eye drops that you need to put in your eye, this is perfectly readable. So, and it can be even smaller than the script on these little bottles. So have a look in the pharmacy if you want to know how this script is on these small little tiny bottles, so I can read everything perfectly. The first 2 to 4 weeks, I could see the letters being projected 3 times. So this is important. If you just have this operation, you will actually see artifacts. And what you will actually also see is that the trifocal lens will project the eye lens. Will project the different letters in 3 times on the on your lens, and you can see it when you just have finished this operation. So as you see, and as you will see actually, everything is perfectly readable right away, but you will notice also some glow around the print. So if you don't know what is glow, you go to Photoshop and you just can go to the effects of glow, and you can see what glow is all about. So you actually see the letter, and the letter is like flushing out around, and it's like worse when it's gonna be like a white letter on a black background. So when the contrast is very high, you actually see more and more of this glow, and you also see these letters 3 times. So you've got the main letter, which is the darkest letter, and then you see like a brownish something letter right next to the letter that you are looking at. And this started to go away, especially the first 4 weeks. It was very bad, but it was not really ruining my eyesight to be able to read, but it ruined actually also a little bit the quality of the images that you see if you're looking at pictures and stuff like that. But over the next 3 months, the reading capability just started to, and these artifacts that you have started to improve slightly. And it actually took about 9 months before the double letters went away, and up to today we are at month 11, I still see a little bit of glow around the letters when it's very, very high contrast. So when you have a white print on a black background, I still see a little bit of this glow around the letters. The double print or triple print is all gone. I cannot see this. I don't have this vision anymore of the triple print. So my brain actually receives this information, realizes that I'm looking at a close vision, and it just filters out everything, and it just receives only the signal from the, I would say, near vision projection on the retina. So it's pretty interesting how the brain actually works, but that's actually how it's done. Okay, I also still notice this glow today, but I'm pretty sure that this glow will eventually vanish 100%. So it went away for about, I would say, 90%. There's still 10% of a little bit of a glow around the letters, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna fade away. On the other side, one thing that I notice also is that when if you have not done this operation yet, and you bump into a situation where you really need to read small print and you really can't read it and you don't have your glasses with you, you can always make a little hole. So you just, you know, make a very little hole. You look through that hole and then you can read the text, and you will be able to read the text. So why I want to tell you about this little hole is that when I look at this text over here, I see that the letters are really pitch black. So the letters are really pitch black. And this is one of the shortcomings that you need to live with when you have done this this IOL implant, is that you will lose a little bit of a contrast. So the contrast loss is something I want to talk a little bit further down in the video here, but this has to do with the contrast loss, and I'm going to talk about this contrast loss also in when I'm talking about the far vision. Another thing that I noticed when working on electronics, because you know I sometimes work on electronics, the first few months, I would say even the first 5 to 6 months, sometimes you have a little screw, a little silver screw that you need to unscrew out of a black object. That was pretty hard to actually really have a nice clear view of the screw. This has almost diminished, I would say, so I still see a little bit of a ghosting, so I still see a little bit of you know, glow around the screw, so it makes it still a little bit difficult, but this is improving too. And this is where actually you hold a black object with a silver screw under a light or a spot. So, and this is what I mean with very, very high contrast. You got the black background of the object that you're working on, and you got a silver screw with the light that is being reflected in the silver screw. So, and this really is something that is very important, that the higher the contrast, the more difficult it is for the brain to actually, you know, filter out the information that is projected by the lens, the supplemental information that is not required for the vision that you're actually looking at that particular moment. Okay, there is one more thing regarding the short vision. There's a little soft spot, and this is the second shortcoming of these lenses. So the first one is you lose a little bit of a contrast, and the second shortcoming that you need to live with is that there is a little soft spot, and the soft spot hangs around here. So when you are looking at a paper at a distance of about 50 centimeters or 60 centimeters, this is where you have a little soft spot. And what is this soft spot all about? Well, the print becomes, this is perfect, and now the print becomes a little bit like blurry. Okay. Now, it's not really a big issue, because normally you hold these objects, or when you're watching television, that's another, it's intermediate, but when you're looking at text or your smartphone, normally you keep it at about a hand distance. So, you know, before I had the operation, I had to keep my text very far away to make it readable. Now I need to keep it the way you should be keeping it, like at a distance of 30-40 centimeters. But this little soft spot might be a little bit annoying, especially if you have a computer that is sitting like about 70 centimeters away or something. So you tend to actually take the computer screen or take the computer and bring it a little bit closer. So this is actually the price you need to pay when you have these lens implants. At least this is the case with my trifocal FineVision lenses. Once I get further from the screen, 70 centimeter, it's not considered to be comfortable reading, even if you have healthy eyes or young eyes. So because the print becomes very small. So normally, if you're talking about reading, you're talking about between, you know, 10 centimeters and I would say about 60-70 centimeters, but we've got that little soft spot at 50 centimeters. So I've done some tests with some children about my vision, short vision, and I would say probably have the same vision again, like the children, or compared to children who have healthy eyes. So it's perfect to me. So just that little soft spot, the little soft spot is a little bit of an issue sometimes when you are in very dark places where the lighting conditions are very low, and this is where you actually hit two of the issues, is where you actually have an object that is further than 50-60 centimeters, and you get a low light low light environment where the vision becomes also blurry, because of the fact that the light conditions is very poor. And I can see this particularly when I'm going shopping, and I'm going to there is some kind of a shopping, or I would say supermarket here, called in Belgium, called Colruyt. In general, they have these fluorescent lights, and these fluorescent lights actually are very uncomfortable when you have done this operation, especially the first few months. I would even say the first 6 to 7, 8 months, they are pretty, uncomfortable to be in an environment with these kind of lighting conditions, where you have the fluorescent light in a dark area, and where the fluorescent light is and the lighting is very poor. And in general, when I was going to this supermarket, and when I'm going to this supermarket, I try to get out of the supermarket. At least it was like this in the beginning, the first 6-7 months. I wanted to get out of that supermarket as fast as I can. But I'll come back to that in a few moments. So let me just talk about how my vision is from 70 centimeters up to 3 meters. Some people, they consider it intermediate. The first few weeks I had a mix of glares, ghosts when watching TV, and glow, and multiple projected letters when I was watching subtitles on television, etc., etc., and some glowing around high contrast images on TV. This has been improved gradually over time, but the ghosts were very noticeable, at least up to 3 to 6 meters. 3 to 6 months post-operation. So it took about 3 to 6 months to really start to see some improvement. How the image that I was watching on television started to become considerably better, and it's really starting to improve around month number 8 in my case. So month number 8, I would say month number 8, number 9, even number 10. This is where I realized that I couldn't see any of these artifacts anymore of glowing and double letters when I was watching television. Another thing that I would explain to you before I continue to the FineVision is that sometimes you feel like the progress is deteriorating, and this might be caused by different things. It depends on how tired you are. It depends if you have a headache. If you have a headache, and if I have a headache, my vision becomes bad, or I can see that my vision is deteriorating compared to the day before. And also when the sunset is close, and everything starts to, and the lighting conditions, the environment lighting conditions starts to deteriorate. One thing that you need to understand also is that when it starts to become, when the sunset is there, when you go from a very clear area to a darker area, your pupil is pretty, wide open, or it starts to open. And what I noticed actually is that when the sunset is there, I didn't really feel comfortable, and things looked very weird. So I got a very weird feeling when I was watching things around me each day when there was a sunset, or when I went from a very bright environment to a dark environment. and this feeling has actually diminished. I still feel it sometimes today, 11 months after the operation. So I really feel still today that, something has changed to my vision, but I get this feeling less and less. So what are my expectations for, the intermediate vision? I think there is still some room for improvement. So I think that I had contact with other people who have done this operation, and they told me that 1 year post-operation and 2 years post-operation there is still quite a recovery and a neuro adaptation going on. So the brain still learns a lot from the new impulses and the new image being projected on the retina. Or the retina. So there seems to be still a lot of improvement going on after even 1 year, between 1 year post-operation and 2 years of post-operations. Regarding the far vision is actually the slowest to get by, and this might cause people to panic, feel uncomfortable, call the doctor, go and complain to the doctor and tell the doctor that something is wrong. I just let you know that this far vision is really something that gets by very, very, very slow. I would say it's actually a process that you need to consider before you do this operation, that your far vision might be blurry for an extended period of time after the operation. And even me, who was pretty well informed, I found it a little bit difficult at some times during the recovery period. But I keep on telling myself, I've got new eyes, so I'm gonna try to make the best of it, and I'm gonna forget about the fact that my far vision is not perfect. I was even to the point where the first few weeks after the operation, I really blamed the anesthesia that they've done on my eyes, that this was actually causing my far vision imperfeccies. So my far vision was really, really bad right after the operation. Believe me, I was like, gosh, I have the impression that they have taken the wrong lens, or I have the impression that my far sight is never going to come back again. And I had very good far sight or far vision before, but I was really blaming the anesthesia right after the procedure. But after 2 weeks, you still can't see the street signs, or you can barely read the street signs, especially in poor lighting conditions. It's very difficult to read even just the license plates of cars from 5 to 10 meters. So I asked my doctor, and he told me like I was on schedule. So I tried to calm down. I tried to convince myself that things will improve, and you're stuck in this, I would say, with these lenses, and within just the time that it needs to recover. And after the things that you have when you just finish this operation for far vision is that, first of all, you see a lot of glow around letters, license plates, street signs, etc. To give you an idea how things look like when you just have when you just have done this operation, and you're about like 2 weeks further down the road, and you're driving with your car on the highway, and you got these stripes that separate the different lanes. And you see actually the white stripe here, and there is another stripe. When you look far in front of you, you see these stripes, and there is another ghost stripe, I can call it. And when you approach them, these ghost stripes, they will cover up the actual stripe. So, and as you pass by, you see these ghost stripes always disappearing when you're close to the particular object or the particular stripe. And also, when you've got the stripe right next to the lane and it turns around, you will see the line, the white line next to the motorway, and you will see another line which is a ghost, which goes further and further away from the original line, and you have actually this ghosting going on, especially the first couple of few months, and still today I can still see these ghosting objects, but it becomes more and more difficult actually to notice them. So I think really the brain is remapping all the information and is learning by itself that it needs to find the perfect vision. It's done automatically. It's like, a heartbeat. You cannot control your heartbeat. You cannot control your stomach when your stomach is working. You cannot control your heartbeat. It's done automatically, and it's all controlled by the brain. And I think it's the same with vision. The brain is going to try to find the best vision automatically, and that's where you got this neuro adaptation stage that takes quite some time. So just don't be afraid, don't panic, give it time. You're stuck with the lenses anyway, but give it time and try to keep in mind that you have received new lenses, that you have a second chance in your life, and you just have to, invest 1 year or 2 years or 6 months where the vision is not perfect, actually is really not good compared to your previous vision. And if you have perfect vision before you did this operation, and then you have these implants, and then your far vision deteriorates if you compare it to your previous images that you got with your natural lenses, just give it time. That's the only thing I can say, because you don't have to blame the doctor. It's just automatic. It's just because you get these 3 images being projected, and the brain needs to filter everything out. To give you another idea of what I saw, is that when you have these electricity poles, you see the electricity pole on a blue sky background, and there is some brownish electricity pole on the left and on the right. I can barely see them right now. I can really barely see them. I can still see them sometimes when the contrast between the pole and the background is really, 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 really high. When it's really a sunny day, and you're actually driving towards the sun, where the sky is really illuminated. But it's very, very difficult, and I think I started to see some improvement regarding these electricity poles when we were about 5 months after the operation. I remember catching myself watching at a construction crane, and I saw this brownish copy of the construction crane right next to it, and sometimes there were some flashes where suddenly this brownish image would disappear for a fraction of a second, and then it just appeared again, and you were looking and you tried to concentrate, and you could see actually sometimes this brownish image disappearing. It's very weird, but this is what I had as a perception with my far vision, and when I was looking at this construction crane. And I think it was about like maybe like 5 months, 6 months after the operation that I saw this on this construction crane. So it was pretty neat, and it gave me actually a motivation that things were going to improve. And we are 11 months post-operation, and yeah, it's very difficult for me to notice this brownish image right next to the traffic lights anymore. So if it continues to evolve like this, I think maybe in 2 months, 3 months, I won't even notice them anymore at all, because they're barely noticeable. Also, I saw that these, everything about, license plates of cars right now, 11 months later, they're perfectly visible. I'm going to tell you something that is really the past few days, actually, I would say the past 2 weeks, I went on holidays for 2 months, and when I came back and I came here in Belgium, it started to become springtime, so the daylight becomes stronger, and sometimes I'm just sitting in front of the window watching the other side of the valley and watching all the objects, and they are so crystal clear now. Also, something that I need to tell to you, and that was pretty annoying. This was really annoying for me. There is a house on the other side of the valley at about, I would guess, about 500 meters away from where I am. And the first few months, I would say the first 4 months, 5 months, even 6 months, the black rooftop, and you have the background of the sky. The sky was projected also in the rooftop, at the edges of the rooftop. So it would cover up almost half of the roof of that particular house. And I was like, oh gosh, it's an ugly image, you know. I love to see objects far away. And it was really nasty. It was really nasty. Today, 11 months later, I can not see this sky anymore in this black rooftop. It's gone. It's totally gone. Just sometimes when the contrast, it depends on where is the location of the sun towards the sky. When I'm looking at this rooftop, sometimes I still see a little bit of this bluish shine at the top of the rooftop, but I definitely see an immense improvement since since the first few months, for sure. So there is a very big improvement that took place, especially around, for me in my case, between month number 9 and month number 10. And it happens to be that month number 8 and 9 I was in Thailand, and I went away from the winter time here in Belgium, so I was enjoying, especially over there, the intensity of daylight. So I don't know if I would have stayed here. Maybe the neuro adaptation could have gone slower. Maybe it would have gone faster because you're living in a environment that has less contrast because of the weather, meteorological conditions. It's winter time. The days are much shorter. So maybe the brain would have learned more about the vision. I don't know. It's very difficult to tell you how. Because you cannot train this. It's impossible to train. It's something that is done automatically by the brain. So this black rooftop, very important if you're watching to any of the objects and you've got this images being projected one on top of each other. Over time it will go away, and give it time. For me, I was looking at a neuro adaptation being finished around month number 6, but I realized that the neuro adaptation is probably going to take up to a year, maybe even 2 years. I'm even going to tell you something regarding my far vision, is that the vision that I have, far vision that I have right now, is so crystal clear that I think from now on, from today, actually from about 1 month ago, from that day, the vision that becomes better is beyond actually my actual far vision that I had with my original eyes. So I start to have a better vision, far vision, that I had before I did the operation with my natural lenses. So if I see from where I come, where I'm right now, and what might just be still, improving, from today on, my far vision is going to be even better than I had before I had the operation with my natural lenses. So that is really a big motivation for me to look forward actually on what's going to happen next year. And I'm going to make another video about my vision certainly within a year. It's going to be a little bit longer now, but probably next year I'm going to make a new video about the operation itself and give you more insight about what happened between 11 months post-operation versus 24 months post-operation. Okay, now let me just talk about one of these things that everybody talks about when you have this operation done, and this is halos. Okay, so what is halos? Halos, they are like spider webs. Glares, you get glares as well. So what is halos? Halos is like when you have a source, light source, there's some spider webs around this light source. And this is because if you go back to my video number 5 and you scroll through to I think minute number 3 or 4, you can see that these lenses actually have rings. I think like maybe 25-30 rings. I don't know the exact figures. And you can actually see these light sources being reflected in these rings. This might be very, very annoying, especially if you are driving with the car and you are looking at upcoming traffic at nighttime. You get these spider webs, the halos, and you get glare. And glare, it means like, how can I say it? So get the light source here and you get, glare or sparkles, I would say, coming out of the light source. And these were pretty annoying, especially in the beginning. I still see the halos. I still see the glares at 11 months post-operation. So I didn't see, I think it has improved, but there is a long way to go to actually get rid of them completely. That's where I think, and this is the hardest to actually get by, is the issue of glares and halos. And I think this will probably improve, and it is improving. And my best way to convince myself that things are improving is that right after the operation, I had also halos and especially glare and glow around stars. I could barely see the stars at night, and I could not really see the different star signs. 11 months post-operation, I can see the stars in a very perfect way. There's no glare, there's no halos, there's no glowing. The only object that glows is the moon. So when it's a full moon, I can see like a waves of light around the moon. So that's the glow I'm talking about. You can see a waves of light around the moon created by the moon itself. That's actually the intensity of a light source of the moon. Look at the lux it radiates. That's the intensity where you start at 11 months, in my case, at 11 months post-operation, you start to see glow and a little bit of a halos. Every source, light source that is stronger than this, I still have halos, I still have glow, I still have glares, there is a pylon, there is a tower from a radio station close to my home, and I remember right after the operation I had a lot of halos and glare around these spots that they mounted on this huge tower, and this one is gone. I cannot see any glow, I cannot see any glare anymore, I cannot see any spider webs or halos anymore. On the other side, there is another one that is a little bit further down the road, which actually flashes light, and the intensity, the lux, the intensity of this light is much stronger, and there I still see the halos. So the reason why they might reject you as a patient to do this operation is because you are a truck driver, or you tend to drive a lot for your work, because the halos might just be so big, especially when the light source is very, very, strong. When you have upcoming lights coming to you, you barely see the car, because these glow, glare, and halos, they really take up a lot of the image around the light source. Another thing that I see improvement of at 11 months post-operation is when I look at the backlight of cars. So the front light, I still have halos. The backlight, the red lights of the cars, the backlight, I had a lot of glare and halos and glow right after the operation. Today, I don't see any glow, I don't see any glare, they're perfectly visible, so that the intensity of light does not create any glow, glare or halos. But when they stop, they brake, the light intensity of the brakes is much higher, so I can still see these halos, I can still see the glare, I can still see the glow around the lights. So just to give you an idea how strong the light source has to be before I actually see the glow, glare and halos around these light sources. So that's a little bit about how far I can go with perfect vision. One more thing, and I'm going to talk more about the general vision itself. You know, you lose a little bit of contrast, and this is visible also overnight, but especially over, you know, when the sunset is there. And I mentioned I went to Thailand and I could see it pretty clearly when it was sunset. And people were walking, you know, in front of me, like about 10 meters or 15 meters away. And these faces, they tend to be a little bit darker, and I could barely recognize the people's faces when the sunset was there. I don't know if this is going to improve. We'll report back about this in 1 year from now. But it is sometimes a little bit difficult to recognize the people's faces when the light conditions are pretty poor. Okay, there's one more thing I forgot to tell about the intermediate and far vision. I'm at my work. I actually have our shop over here. And then you got the street, and then there is a white building on the other side of the road. And when I see people walking, and you've got the white background of that particular wall, and people are walking, passing this particular wall, you could really notice very clearly the wall being projected, especially if the people were wearing dark clothes or black hair. So this wall was projected in their hair, in their faces, on their clothes. This has almost gone to zero as well. So I don't see I would say the wall being projected one more time in the people's hair or clothes. It's not perfect. It's not finished completely. It's still there, but it has improved a lot, and I think there is still a little bit room for improvement as well. Another thing, and this is something that I noticed since the operation, and actually I noticed this also before the operation, is floaters. And what is floaters? When you look at a background that is like blue, like a sky, you might see some worms in your eye, and you try to follow them with your eyeball. And these are artifacts in the liquid of your eyeball. So I think they are enzymes, I'm not sure, but these are enzymes that are floating in your eyeball. And I noticed them before I did the operation, for sure. And I don't know, maybe it's because I focus a little bit more on them. After the operation, I see more of them. I don't know if it's true, if it has to do with the operation. Maybe I might be completely wrong, because it's a very, very difficult to compare how many floaters I could see before and after the operation. So sometimes I can see them, but they're not a big issue, because the brain filters them out automatically. If you are younger than 25 years old, 30 years old, you won't see these floaters. It's something that is very uncommon if you are young. These enzymes, they just are produced around the age of 40 as well. Some questions that I had: did you also suffer from flickering? Well, I do. I didn't see any flickering before I did the operation. It's like, tick, 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 tick. It's like in the center part of your vision, you see a little bit of flickering, tick, 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 tick. But I think it has to do when I'm in a stressful situation, or also sometimes when I wake up. So especially when I wake up, it's not a big issue. I see this flickering sometimes when I've been carrying heavy stuff. Maybe it has nothing to do with the operation. Maybe it has. Maybe it has to do more. It has maybe more to do with tension, like pressure in your eyes. I don't know. If you know more about this flickering, please let me know, because somebody was really telling me that he was suffering from flickering, but it doesn't last very long. This flickering, it's like tick 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 tick. Maybe like 5 minutes later or 3 minutes later, you forget about the flickering, you don't see it anymore. So it's not something that really bothers me, and I don't know what might be the cause of this flickering. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. So what do I expect from the next few months? Well, I have been spectacle free anyway since I've done this operation. This was the main goal. To be spectacle free, not to wear any glasses for any circumstances, far, intermediate, and short vision. And I definitely am very happy that I've done this operation. So people keep on asking me if I would do the same operation again, and yes, for sure, immediately. I would even do it much faster. I would do it earlier if the doctor allows me. Like I was using reading glasses for about 5 years. I could have shortened this time by doing this operation just earlier. But I'm happy that I've done this operation, and I'm very thankful to Dr. Evans, who has done this operation in a very perfect way. In my case, the operation of both eyes were done at the same day, so it was really something that is very, very interesting to see, and I really enjoy my view. I definitely enjoy my view these days. It's like, remarkable. Everything is perfect. You just have these two shortcomings of a little bit less contrast and a soft spot around 50-60 centimeters. But, I can live with these two little shortcomings because, it's just in very specific circumstances that you actually notice these shortcomings. One of these, where the soft spot is a little bit of an issue, is when I go to that particular supermarket to Colruyt and I want to read the product information, or I want to read the price tag on the shelves. Sometimes I need to go and get closer, and I will approach like this, and okay, I can read it. So this is the only moment where I actually see the shortcoming of these lenses. So really very happy about the lenses, and I just again cannot emphasize it even more. Give it time. When you've done this operation, it takes time. Neuro adaptation doesn't just happen overnight, unfortunately. But you get new eyes. So what is 1 year of your life when you've got another 40 years to go with perfect vision? So, and everybody needs to wear glasses once they start to get the age of 45, 50, 60. Older people, they tend to wear glasses anyway, and you will be glasses free for the rest of your life. So these 6 months or a year or even 2 years of investment of time and less than perfect vision is better and is more interesting than being confronted with bad vision for the rest of your life. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I would say please subscribe to my channel so you are informed about my new videos, because if something happens, I might just make a new video earlier. please give me thumbs up. I'm doing this for you guys, okay? I'm trying to help you people who want to do this operation, or people who have done this operation, and I try to make you feel comfortable because I think I am completely isolated from any doctor or clinic. I'm just a patient, and I think it's the most honest testimonial you can have is someone who is doing this testimonial like me. So give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, write them down in the description. Bye bye.